TV soap news and spoilers say that family ties and forbidden love, a tale of conflict and bonds in the quiet, sun-dappled town of Willow Creek, where the air carried the scent of blooming jasmine and the whispers of small-town secrets. A storm was brewing beneath the surface of a seemingly perfect family. Dani, a spirited young woman with a heart full of dreams, had just confessed to her older sister, Nicole, a truth that would unravel the delicate threads of their familial tapestry. She was in love with Andre, Nicole's nephew. This revelation, delivered in the soft glow of a late summer evening, should have been a moment of joy, a celebration of young love. But instead, it ignited a spark of discord that threatened to consume the bonds that had held this family together through years of triumph and tragedy. Nicole, a woman of 42 with a steely resolve forged by years of responsibility, stood in her cozy kitchen, her hands gripping the edge of the counter as Dani's words echoed in her mind. Her hazel eyes, usually warm and inviting, now flickered with a storm of emotions, disbelief, concern, and something deeper, something that felt like betrayal. Andre wasn't just her nephew. He was the boy she had raised as her own, the child she had cradled through sleepless nights after the devastating car accident that claimed his parents' lives. To Nicole, Andre was more than family. He was her heart, her pride, her son in all but name. And now, Dani, her younger sister, had dared to cross a line that Nicole hadn't even realized she'd drawn. The kitchen, with its worn oak table and the faint aroma of freshly baked bread, had always been the heart of their home. It was where Nicole and her husband, Ted, had welcomed Andre into their lives 12 years ago, when he was just a wide-eyed 10-year-old grappling with unimaginable loss. They had built a life for him, filled with love, structure, and the promise of a brighter future. Nicole had been there for every milestone: his first school dance, his high school graduation, his tentative steps into adulthood. She had watched him grow into a kind, thoughtful young man of 22, with his father's easy smile and his mother's quiet strength. And now, Dani, at 26, with her infectious laugh and reckless spirit, had entered his orbit in a way Nicole could never have anticipated. Dani's confession had come unexpectedly, over a glass of wine on the porch as the crickets sang their evening chorus. Her voice had trembled, not with fear but with the weight of her feelings, as she admitted that she and Andre had been seeing each other in secret for months. They hadn't meant for it to happen, she said. It started with stolen glances at family gatherings, late-night conversations when Dani would drop by to help with chores, and moments of shared laughter that lingered just a little too long. But what began as friendship had blossomed into something deeper, something undeniable. Dani's eyes had sparkled with hope as she spoke, expecting Nicole to share in her joy, to embrace this new chapter. But Nicole's silence, heavy and cold, had shattered that hope like glass. The age difference, for years, wasn't the only thing that gnawed at Nicole. It wasn't even the primary source of her unease, though she knew others in their tight-knit community might raise eyebrows at the pairing. No, what twisted her heart was the complex web of relationships that defined their family. Andre wasn't just her nephew, he was the boy she had raised, the son she had nurtured through grief and uncertainty. To her, he was family in a way that transcended blood, and the idea of Dani, her own sister, claiming him in such an intimate way felt like a violation of that sacred bond. It was as if Dani had reached into the very core of Nicole's identity as a mother figure and pulled something loose, leaving her unmoored. Nicole's thoughts churned as she stood alone in the kitchen, the ticking of the old wall clock marking the seconds of her growing resolve. She knew she needed to confront Andre, to lay bare her concerns and demand answers. But how could she approach him without breaking the trust they had built over years? Andre respected her deeply. She had seen it in the way he sought her advice, in the quiet gratitude he showed for the life she and Ted had given him. Would he listen to her now, or would his feelings for Dani cloud his judgment? The uncertainty gnawed at her, fueling a fire of determination to protect what she held dear. The next evening, Nicole invited Andre over for dinner, her voice steady but her heart racing as she prepared for the conversation that would change everything. The dining room was warm with the glow of candlelight, the table set with her mother's old china, a silent nod to the traditions that had anchored their family. Ted, sensing the tension in his wife's demeanor, offered to take their two young daughters, Lily and Emma, out for ice cream after the meal, giving Nicole the space she needed. Andre arrived, his dark hair slightly tousled, his smile as warm as ever, but there was a flicker of unease in his eyes, as if he sensed the storm on the horizon. Dinner passed in a blur of small talk, with Nicole forcing herself to smile and nod as Andre recounted his latest project at the community college, where he was studying graphic design. Dani's name hung in the air, unspoken but heavy, until Nicole could bear it no longer. As the dishes were cleared, she asked Andre to stay behind, her tone gentle but firm. Ted ushered the girls out the door, leaving the two of them alone in the quiet house. Andre, Nicole began, her voice low but steady, Dani told me about you too. About your relationship. The word felt foreign on her tongue, sharp and unwelcome. Andre's face paled, but he didn't look away. His respect for her was evident in the way he sat up straighter, his hands clasped tightly on the table. I was going to tell you, he said softly, his voice tinged with guilt. We didn't mean to keep it a secret, Aunt Nicole. It just happened. And we didn't know how to bring it up. Nicole's heart ached at the sincerity in his eyes, but it wasn't enough to quell the storm within her. Andre, you're like a son to me, she said, her voice trembling now. You know that. When your parents died, Ted and I promised to give you everything they would have wanted for you. A stable home, a future, a family. And now. Dani? My sister? It's not right. Andre's brow furrowed, and for the first time, Nicole saw a spark of defiance in his gaze. Why not? He asked, his voice quiet but firm. Dani and I care about each other. We're not doing anything wrong. I know it's complicated, but we're not kids. We've thought this through. Nicole's hands tightened into fists, her nails digging into her palms. Thought it through, she repeated, her voice rising. Andre, you're 22. Dani's 26. You're at different stages of life, and that's just the start of it. She's my sister. My sister. Do you have any idea how this feels for me? It's like I'm losing you both. The room seemed to shrink around them, the air thick with unspoken truths. Andre's jaw tightened, but he didn't interrupt. He let her speak, let her pour out the fears and frustrations that had been building since Dani's confession. Nicole spoke of the past, of the nights she had stayed up with him when nightmares kept him awake, of the way she had fought to give him a sense of normalcy after his world had been shattered. She spoke of her love for Dani, her wild, free-spirited sister who had always danced to her own rhythm, and how that recklessness now felt like a betrayal. And she spoke of her fear that this relationship, this unexpected love, would fracture the family she had worked so hard to hold together. Andre listened, his expression a mix of pain and resolve. When she finished, the silence between them was heavy, broken only by the distant hum of crickets outside. Aunt Nicole, he said at last, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes, I love you. You and Uncle Ted have given me everything. But I also love Dani. And I think she's the one. I'm not asking you to understand right now, but I'm asking you to trust me. To trust us. Nicole's heart twisted at his words. Trust. It was a word that had defined their relationship for years, a bond forged in the crucible of loss. But now, it felt like a challenge, a test she wasn't sure she could pass. She wanted to tell him to end it, to walk away from Dani and preserve the family as it had always been. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw the boy she had raised, now a man making his own choices, and she knew that forcing him to choose would only drive him further away. The days that followed were a blur of tension and unspoken words. Nicole avoided Dani, unable to face her sister without feeling the sting of betrayal. Dani, for her part, tried to reach out, leaving voicemails and sending texts that went unanswered. Andre, caught in the middle, struggled to balance his loyalty to Nicole with his love for Dani. The family gatherings that had once been filled with laughter and warmth now felt strained, the air thick with the weight of what had been left unsaid. In the quiet moments, Nicole wrestled with her feelings. She thought of her own marriage to Ted, how they had faced their own challenges and come out stronger. She thought of Dani's infectious joy, how it had always lit up a room, and how Andre's quiet strength complemented it in a way she hadn't expected. And she thought of Andre's words, his plea for trust, and the love in his eyes when he spoke of Dani. Slowly, painfully, she began to see that her resistance wasn't just about protecting Andre. It was about her own fear of change, of losing the family she had built. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold, Nicole called Dani and Andre to the house. They arrived together, their hands clasped tightly, their faces a mix of hope and trepidation. Nicole stood on the porch, her heart pounding, and took a deep breath. "I've been wrong," she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "I've been so caught up in my own fears that I didn't see what was right in front of me. You two, you love each other. And that's not something I can fight, or should fight. I need time. But I want you to know that I'm trying. I'm trying to understand." Dani's eyes filled with tears, and she stepped forward, wrapping her arms around Nicole in a fierce hug. "Thank you," she whispered. "I know this is hard. But we'll figure it out together." Andre stepped forward, his expression a mix of relief and gratitude. "Aunt Nicole," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you're still my family. You always will be." As the three of them stood there, the weight of the past weeks began to lift, replaced by a tentative hope. The road ahead would not be easy, there would be conversations, adjustments, and moments of doubt. But in that moment, under the fading light of a summer sky, they took the first steps toward healing, toward a new understanding of what family could mean. The story of Dani and Andre was far from over, but as Nicole watched them walk away, hand in hand, she felt a flicker of peace. Love, she realized, was not something to be controlled or contained. It was a force that reshaped families, tested bonds, and ultimately, if given the chance, made them stronger. And for the first time in weeks, Nicole allowed herself to believe that they would find their way through, together. We hope you enjoyed it and look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe TV soap news and spoilers for more updates on Beyond the Gates.